Welcome, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Fair Territory. I'm Ken Rosenthal here with Alanna Rizzo. I am in New York. Fox has the Yankees-Red Sox series opener tonight. But we're not just going to talk about the Yankees and Red Sox. We've got Realignment. We've got Kyle Tucker. We've got Dudes and Dorks. We've got your questions as well. So, Alanna, greetings. I hope you're doing well.
It's good to see you. You're in New York. I'm in Boston. Do we have a rivalry? I am not sure, but Ken, the rivalry returns. How much juice is there with this series beginning?
Alanna, it's a really good question. And I like the way Chris Kirshner put it in The Athletic this morning in his mailbag. He thinks that this is the most meaningful meeting between the Yankees and Red Sox since the 2021 wild card game. And I would tend to agree. Both currently in wild card position. Yankees at the top of the standings based on their recent run. And the Yankees have closed by winning 7 of 8 to within 4 games of the Toronto Blue Jays in the AL East. So things are heating up. The Red Sox need to kind of start getting going again. They're 3-7 in their last 10, have not played well of late. They've made some moves in advance of this series, some pretty interesting moves. They send down Isaiah Campbell, bring in Richard Fitts. Now, Richard Fitts has been a starter his whole career, but it appears for now the Sox are going to use him out of the bullpen, at least in this series. And then just today, it was reported that the Sox also have designated Abraham Toro for assignment. He gave them some good playing time at first base until kind of fading after the All-Star break, and they've brought back David Hamilton. Now, David Hamilton gives them additional speed for this series so they can pressure the Yankees. And David Hamilton also plays second base, and perhaps that will enable the Sox to move Ceddanne Rafaela playing more in center field where he is so brilliant. Rafaela has struggled offensively. Perhaps it's related to moving back to the infield. I don't know. But this is going to be a really interesting series for sure, Alanna.
Does it solve their issue, though, at first base, Ken? We were talking about the Boston Red Sox. Obviously, there was a platoon situation there between Abraham Toro and Romy Gonzalez, especially when, there was a left-hander on the hill. Romy Gonzalez, though, is starting to play against right-handers as well. Rob Refsnyder is on the IL. What is the plan for the Sox at first?
Well, the signing of Nathaniel Lowe changes everything for the Red Sox, and that really is what led to the move with Toro. You saw the other night, Lowe had the game-tying home run in the ninth inning. It would have been a huge moment if the Red Sox had won that game. They did not. So now going forward, they've got Lowe, they've got Romy Gonzalez in the mix. Romy Gonzalez also plays second. Once Refsnyder is healthy, he'll be in the equation as well. What they are clearly trying to do here as we enter the final 6 weeks of the season is put their best team on the field. And that is the goal here. And with these moves, that is clearly the intention. And it's going to be interesting to see their lineup tonight. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out going forward, both at first base, at second base, and in center field. There shouldn't be a both there. There's 3 positions, all 3 of those positions.
And Roman Anthony, Ken, is going to be in that lineup for the Red Sox. A big extension for him. You wrote about it currently in The Athletic. This kid is way beyond his years in terms of maturity and specifically plate discipline.
That's exactly what I wrote about, Alanna. And it's interesting to me that this kid just turned 21 in May and is unfazed by everything that he has encountered so far. And I am sure, quite certain, he will be unfazed by playing at Yankee Stadium. He's going to be a centerpiece of this rivalry for the next 8 or 9 years at least. And Yankee fans, I'm sure, are going to come to dislike him, but it's hard to dislike this guy. He's kind of quiet on the field, doesn't show much emotion at all, just plays really well at a really high level. And yes, plate discipline. In this column I wrote, Alex Cora compared him. Well, he didn't compare him to Barry Bonds. He said, I can't compare him to Barry Bonds. But he kind of thought maybe like an early Juan Soto. And that's high praise, obviously, for Roman Anthony.
And I love the fact that you talked to Alex Cora about this. And he said that when they told Roman Anthony, Ken, that he was going to start the season in AAA, he shook Alex Cora's hand. He said, I'll see you soon. And Alex Cora was like, I'm sure you will. And sure enough, Roman Anthony had to wait until June, but it's been a good change ever since. Aaron Boone and Aaron Judge. What more can you tell us about the disagreement, if you will, in the throwing ability of Aaron Judge right now?
Well, it seems that Aaron Boone, when he said that Judge might not throw the way he normally throws for the rest of the season, was kind of getting ahead of himself. And Judge quickly corrected him. I don't know that this is going to be any issue. Those two are very close. But The real question is, when does Aaron Judge get back into the outfield? And I don't know that it will happen this series. I would not be surprised if it did. He has been throwing, and clearly, when you're playing with some kind of elbow issue, it's going to be a little bit dicey at times. But fully the full expectation of the Yankees, I should say, is that he will be back in right field. Then you have Judge in right, Grisham in center, Bellinger in left. That's a really good defensive outfield, and that's where the Yankees are heading with this.
All right, let's talk about the New York Yankees a little bit more, Ken. Their schedule stiffens beginning this weekend, obviously. The Red Sox are trying to make the postseason team. The Yankees obviously are doing the same. It's not going to get much easier for them going forward.
It won't for this particular period, but going forward, totally, when you look at Fangraphs and the remaining strength of schedule, they actually have the Yankees as the easiest remaining strength of schedule based on a couple of different factors. Now, other websites, Alanna, don't have them with the easiest, but it's not that bad. And they end the season with a pretty easy schedule with a number of non-contenders. So the Red Sox, after this series, play, I believe, 5 straight series against non-contenders. And they're going to have some different teams that they play to that are more competitive. So will the Yankees. The Yankees play each of the division leaders one series each remaining this season. So it's funny we talk about schedule all the time. I talk about it constantly, but it really depends on which teams are playing the best at that particular time. Now, it certainly helped the Yankees to beat up on these 3 sellers as they did in these last 3 series, but they've got to play well to win games. We know that. We've seen that with them. So that really is their challenge here, to play at a high, crisp level, something that they haven't always done, regardless of who the opponent is.
Yeah, no question about that. It's going to be interesting to see how many teams in the AL East can get into the postseason as far as that picture is concerned. Let's talk about another topic here on Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal, where there is a lot to unpack, and that is realignment. And a lot of folks have been talking about this, Ken, for a long time. What is the latest?
The latest is Rob Manfred went on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball and, of course, talked about the possibility of expansion, which would lead to realignment. Now, it's important to note, as Jason Stark did this morning in The Athletic, in a really good article that gave a lot of context to the situation. Basically, Jason starts by saying, this isn't close. None of it is close. Not expansion, not realignment, and not, as he mentions here, the possibility of the schedule shrinking. And Jason makes some very good points in that article about why the schedule could shrink if the sport indeed goes to 32 teams. That, too, is a discussion to come. But the realignment conversation is one that got fans really excited, or I would say intrigued, because obviously it would lead to major implications. It might lead to the sport looking unlike the way it has looked for quite some time now. So there have been a couple of proposals thrown out there. Let's get into them.
All right. So if you think about the proposal from Jim Bowden 2 years ago, let's look at that one first. Because again, this has been talked about for quite some time. And there's a bunch of realignment when it comes to where teams are going. But moreover, where are the new teams going to be housed, right? Is it going to be Nashville? Is it going to be Charlotte? Like that's a whole other picture too in terms of another piece of this puzzle, Ken.
Alanna, it sure is. And you make a great point. We don't even know who the expansion teams are yet. Is it Charlotte? Is it Nashville in the East? Is it Salt Lake City? Is it Portland in the West? Are there other cities that are perhaps in the mix that we don't even think about or haven't even considered yet? I don't believe so. But all of this will depend on where those expansion teams end up. But Jim's proposal, what he brought about a couple of years ago, basically is done purely on geography and natural rivalries. So you see, the Midwest Division would have the Cubs, White Sox, Brewers, and the Twins. They're all rivals. Even the Brewers and the Twins have a rivalry. Southwest, Astros, Royals, Cardinals, Rangers, Pacific Coast. Now, the Rockies don't belong on the Pacific Coast, but it doesn't always work perfectly. Colorado, the Athletics, wherever they might be, Seattle, San Francisco, then the Western Division, Arizona, the Angels, the Dodgers, and the Padres. That makes a ton of sense. And then you go to the East. This would be an amazing division. The Red Sox, Mets, Yankees, and Phillies. The North, Reds, Guardians, Tigers, Blue Jays, and you see the others as well. Mid-Atlantic with the Orioles, Charlotte perhaps, maybe it's Nashville, Pittsburgh and Washington, then the Southeast, Atlanta, Nashville, Tampa Bay, and Miami. Another one that makes a lot of geographic sense. Now, that's an interesting proposal, no question about it. But what I liked a little bit better, because it kept the leagues kind of more intact, was what Stephen Nesbitt suggested in The Athletic the other day. Now, what Stephen doesn't have that Jim does are the Mets and Yankees and the Dodgers and Angels and all those teams necessarily in the same divisions. He did it more like the way the leagues are currently constructed. I'm not going to read all the names here, but you can see them. And in the East, for example, he doesn't have the Mets and Yankees together, but he has the Mets, Phillies, Pirates, and Nationals. And then another example for him that would be interesting would be in the West, the Diamondbacks, Dodgers, Padres, and Giants. No Angels, but you have the four natural remaining NL West rivals. It's sort of the same in the American League, the way Steven has it laid out. East kind of preserved the way it is now without Tampa Bay. Every other team is in there. And in the West, it's a little bit different. The A's, wherever they might be, the Angels, Salt Lake City or Portland, plus the Mariners. And you can see the North and South divisions there too. Now, the question is going to be, if this all comes to pass, and again, we're not close yet. We're not close to expansion. We're not close to realignment. But if it does come to pass, then at that point, Rob Manfred, whoever is commissioner of baseball at that point, will have to decide, okay, do we want to sort of preserve the leagues, or do we want to go just pure geography and natural rivalries? That's the decision. But again, we're talking about something that is years away. A lot of fun for us to talk about, no question, but we're not there yet.
Okay. Do you have a different opinion or different solution? Do you have a preference? And how important is it to you, Ken Rosenthal, to preserve the rivalries?
I don't have a preference. I would lean a little bit toward Nesbitt's, but I understand Bowden's. And I understand Bowden's because if you're a Met and Yankee fan, if you're a White Sox, Cubs fan, if you're a Dodgers, Angels fan, you want to see those teams playing and you want to see them in the same division. I assume not everyone would agree. No one ever agrees entirely on anything, but that would be the appeal of Jim's proposal. I kind of lean towards Stevens a little bit. And that's where I am with it. I don't have my own proposal. I've not sat around thinking about this too much, but it is cool to imagine what might be. And then, of course, if you have a reduced schedule, as Jason suggests this morning, what would be the point of that? Well, mathematically, it might work better with 32 teams. And the other point would be more playoffs. I don't know that we need more playoffs. I don't know that baseball agrees with me on that.
Yeah, they're going to have to find a way to make up the revenue if it is only a 154 game regular season. So perhaps expanded playoffs are the play. I do think it's funny, though, that Colorado would be in the Pacific Coast Division if it were to be new divisions, because some would argue, Ken Rosenthal, me, not you, that Colorado doesn't even belong in Major League Baseball. Okay, boom, boom. Never
we don't
mind
have relegation. If we ever get to relegation, maybe.
Yeah, although they have taken 2 of 3 so far from the Los Angeles Dodgers, but that's for another conversation. All right, get your questions in for Grillin Ken as Fair Territory continues here on all of our different networks. We appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
FT fam, when you're playing in games, you kind of have some stress, anxiety. Teammates need somebody, something to help. Now it's at your fingertips with Rula.
That's right. Telehealth has been a huge help for millions of people, but it can be time-consuming and expensive to find the right therapist. Rula is on a mission to make this process smoother. And make sure you go to rula.com/Val for more details. They take most major insurance plans, and the average copay is only about $15 per session. Every provider on Rula is carefully vetted and chosen for their expertise. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey toward improved mental health and overall well-being. Head on over to rula.com/Val to get started today. After you sign up, they ask you where you heard about them. Please say that FT sent you there to support the show, but also worry about yourself here at rula.com, RULA.com/FOUL, and take the first step towards better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares.
All right, time now for Grillin Ken. The first one comes from Armand. We always appreciate the conversation and the questions. Which National League team do you trust, believe in more, Ken, to clinch the third wild card spot? He's putting you on the spot, either the Mets or the Reds. I don't trust and believe in my Mets. Armand is obviously a big Met fan.
Armand might have a point. Now, the Mets lead the Reds by 1 game for the final wild card spot. if you had to pick this based on starting pitching, you would pick the Reds.
Hmm.
Hunter Green, Lodolo, everything that they have, Andrew Abbott, that's a stronger rotation than the Mets are offering right now. Senga last night, again, not great. And David Peterson really has been their only consistent starter. Now, perhaps Nolan McLean, not Norm, will give them something that they've been looking for, and perhaps they'll bring up some of their younger prospects as well, in addition to McLean, to kind of fortify themselves. But they still have the lead. They don't have as good a run differential as the Reds, for whatever that is worth. I just trust that their players, their position players, in the end will carry them. But I'm not convinced of that. And the Reds rotation is dangerous. And if the Reds get in, they're dangerous for that reason. And their offense has been a little bit better of late. So, Armand, I would say that I cannot give you words of comfort here. I'm not so sure this is going to go exactly the way the Mets want it.
Is that the biggest collapse, in your opinion, of the season, Ken, considering if they don't make the postseason, considering all that was put into in the offseason, obviously Juan Soto, all of the different things? I mean, that would be an epic fail, would it not?
It would. And in fact, my friend Joel Sherman, and your friend as well, Alanna, wrote a column recently basically asking the question, would this be the most disappointing Mets season in history? Now, there's some competition there for most disappointing season in Mets history. But the mere fact that Joel would be asking that question in Juan Soto's first year with the team, in a year when they've re-signed Pete Alonso, that is troubling alone. And we'll see what happens here. I still expect the Mets' big players, Alonso, Soto, Lindor, etc., to step up. And certainly the loss of Alvarez for however long it is behind the plate hurts them. I just see their position club as being stronger than the Reds. And that's the question I have with the Reds. Will they score enough to support that rotation?
Now, the fact that the Reds are even in the conversation is fun. I'm not certain that I would have put the Reds in the postseason picture. Good for Cincinnati. Another question on Grillin Ken in regards to realignment. Of course, a lot of folks want to talk about this because it's been a topic of conversation for some time. Bernie Suarez, in what world would it make sense to have the Dodgers and Giants in different divisions? Preserving those rivalries, Bernie wants to know.
Bernie, not my world, and I don't believe in Alana's world either would that make sense. So I don't know which proposal had that, but I hear you, man. And certainly the balance here, the trick here, if we ever get to this point, will be for Major League Baseball to preserve what is good, Dodgers, Giants, Dodgers, Padres for that matter, while still doing this realignment, which basically is all revolving around geography anyway. So why would you not have the Dodgers, Giants, Padres, and Diamondbacks all playing each other? I would rather have that than Dodgers, Angels, for instance, in the same division. So I'm with you on that. Put it that way.
I agree. I think the rivalries are important for the sport and obviously just for the history of this great game of ours. Next question on Grillin Ken is from Craig Osterberg. Appreciate you, Craig. Will pitching or hitting decide these divisional races? That's a good one.
Craig,
That's a good
you're
question.
kind of asking a general question here, and it's a good one. I'm not exactly sure how you can break down each one along these lines because I'm sure pitching will decide some. It may decide the NL wildcard, for instance, as we just discussed, and I would imagine hitting will decide some others. For instance, if the Yankees slug their way to the AL East title and the Blue Jays don't start playing better again, that could happen. A lot of things can happen. So I'm not exactly sure how to answer that, but basically put it this way. The team with the best combination is going to be in really good shape.
Who do you think has the best combination?
Milwaukee has had a good combination. There's no doubt about that. And their pitching, in my view, from a national standpoint, gets a little overlooked at times because we all dwell on their offense and the cool things that they do, the way they generate and manufacture runs. But if they get Miz going again, and he struggled a little bit yesterday again, then there will be a formidable combination for sure. And then you look at the Phillies as well. The Phillies had an incredible offensive series against Seattle. Trey Turner is ridiculously hot. 7 straight 3-hit games. Matt Gelb wrote about that today in The Athletic. And the Phillies, even without Wheeler, if Ranger Suarez pitches the way he did the other night, if Christopher Sanchez keeps it up, you have the makings of a dynamic playoff rotation with Luzardo, with Aaron Nola possibly getting back in things too. So they've got some possibilities there. They're going to be an interesting team in the playoffs.
Man, the National League is so interesting because there's so many good teams. You just don't know which way it's going to go. I think a definite easier path is in the junior circuit. All right, much more to come here on Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal. We appreciate the questions on Grillin Ken, but next we are talking Dude and Dork of the Week right after this.
Okay, Kratz, I opened up Arena Club, put my own money in there, and I wasn't going to go big. I know we went over the Ruby pack a week ago. This time, I just went for the low-level pack, where it's an easy entry point, $25. You can get yourself a big boy card. The Grail has many good options. I slice open the pack. We're looking at it if you're watching us right now, and I pull a card from the 1950s. Super cool. I enjoyed the experience looking at it. It's Jim Gilliam. It's a top set from the mid-50s. It's cool. It's a Brooklyn Dodger, but it's worth more than the card. Like I said, I'm going to sell it back. I got $28 instantly, so I can buy another one of those packs and try and get what I want.
Absolutely. The excitement, I heard Kip say it before, the excitement's in the chase. You sold it back. Now you get to open another one. I enjoy when you slide it across the screen there and the pack opens.
You know where to go. arenaclub.com/foul. 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase. Get after it.
BetMGM is giving you the chance to win a prize every day during the baseball season. Step into the batter's box for BetMGM's Swing for the Fences free-to-play game. Visit the BetMGM app to access the game, and you'll score a prize if you hit a single, double, triple, or home run. Strikeout? No problem. Try again tomorrow. Gambling problem or concern? There is help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Dude.
All right, we are nearing the end of the month of August, almost to September. The tide is turning, the calendar is turning, the leaves are changing a little bit. Who is your dude of the week this week?
Alanna, it's going to be the Yankees for hitting 9 home runs against the Tampa Bay Rays on Tuesday night. They came within one of their major league record, but really, I'm only naming the Yankees dudes so I can get into another story. And the other story is the record that actually was set in 1987, in my first year on the beat, at Toronto's Exhibition Stadium by the Blue Jays against the Orioles, 10 homers. And Hank Peters and the Orioles general manager later made an instructional video out of that night for the Orioles minor leaguers. He called it the barrage. He said, this is the lesson on not how to pitch, on how not to pitch. So that is a very distinct memory for me. The next day, I'm 24 years old. I'm on the beat against Tim Kirkchin and Richard Justice, two of the great beat writers in the country. Tim, of course, still one of the most formidable baseball experts in our game. And I walk into Cal Ripken Sr.'s office. He's the manager at the time. I was terrified. And I asked him, Cal, after last night, the team's on its way to 95 losses, it turns out. Are you worried about getting fired? I was terrified of what he might say. And he said, we just put on one of the most embarrassing displays in Major League history. Of course I'm worried about getting fired. Well, that record still stands. The Yankees challenged it, but didn't get there. But they're the dudes of the week.
I'm glad that Cal Ripken Sr. was kind to you in that moment. He's like, of course I'm worried about getting fired. What a story, Ken. And you've been doing it at the highest level ever since. Okay, my dude of the week is another journalist who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, Nick Pecoro, who, of course, writes for the Arizona Republic. He has covered the Diamondbacks for 2 decades, doing all of the necessary dirty work. And unfortunately, he's getting dragged in the process a little bit. He recently had an article in the Arizona Republic on Ketel Marte about how there was a little bit of discourse, perhaps, in seemingly Ketel Marte asking for some time off in certain times of the season where perhaps there was a little bit of discord amongst his teammates. Obviously, Ken, I don't think a story like this comes out without basis, and certainly with a tremendous amount of research and the need for it to come out. This is not something that Nick, I would imagine, just heard about in terms of rumblings or without legitimate sources. This is something that I'm sure he's worked on for a period of time. But of course, fans are now upset about the story and perhaps wondering if Ketel Marte is going to be traded, if Torey Lovello is too easy on him. Just starting some negative conversations, I guess, about the Diamondbacks clubhouse. But that is Nick's job as a reporter. And he has earned the right and has the resume to write something like this, perhaps, without being questioned about the integrity of the article. I'm interested because you, as a beat writer and someone that is a baseball columnist for a long time, knows how difficult it is to be in the clubhouse day in and day out. What is your take on this?
Well, I said this on Foul Territory the other day. I'm with you, Alana, 1000% on this. And here's a message to fans. You say you want to know about your teams. Well, you can't only know about the good things about your teams. We're not out there to be cheerleaders. If you want a certain kind of reporting, positive for the team all the time, I can direct you to certain websites that will do that for you. That is not the job of a journalist. The job of a journalist is to tell you what's going on, good or bad. So you can't say, I want to know as much as possible about my team, but then say, well, I'd rather not know this or that. And you know what? What Nick wrote is not going to destroy the Diamondbacks. What Ketel Marte was doing might hurt the Diamondbacks, and he apologized for it. So, or at least some of it. So when he apologizes for it, that, as I said on FT, further legitimized the story, and it's a really good choice for Dude of the Week. Nick took too much crap for this.
Yeah, Nick is a very good journalist, and he's a colleague of ours, and I stand behind that when I say that he is an unbelievable professional. Okay, time now for Dork of the Week. All right, Ken, who do you have for your dork?
This troubles me a little bit because I like this guy. I know him a little bit. Victor Robles. And he's Dork of the Week for throwing the bat and getting the 10-game suspension. Now, there were extenuating circumstances. As he pointed out in his statement of apology, he's coming off a left shoulder separation. He's missed most of the year. He's been very frustrated about that. He recently lost his mom. And he was hit in 3 of his first 4 games. And he also had a history with the pitcher, Joey Estes, who had hit him in the past. So all of these things are true, and all of these things help explain why you see Robles reacting the way he did there. Doesn't matter. You still can't throw a bat. And I don't know that Victor Robles would disagree with me naming him Dork of the Week.
Okay, mine is a guy that decided that he couldn't get enough either fantasy football, or he really needed to make sure that his boss could reach him at all time. My man at the game at Wrigley bringing his laptop. And not only, Ken, did he bring his laptop, he brought his mouse. Do you not have a computer that at least has a mouse on the keyboard itself? What are we doing? I mean, again, if he's working on his fantasy baseball league or getting ready for his football draft, no problem. But if you're actually working, maybe you should not be in a place where your boss can find you on the Jumbotron. It's like going to a Coldplay concert. All right. That is my Dork of the Week. For those of you watching on TV, we say goodbye for now. For those of you watching on YouTube, we'll be right back.